Good morning, this is John. I'm the host of the Prepared Mind channel, and you guys are the patrons, you're the viewers, you're the watchers, you're the listeners, you're the thinkers, you're the contributors. You're what makes this show work. You're the reason I'm here, quite literally. It has been a long haul as preppers. It's been rough. We've just seen some amazing action. Politically, we've seen major action for us ourselves personally. We've seen incredible financial turmoil. We've seen incredible social turmoil. And it just appears to be getting worse. And I was chatting with someone last night. And they were telling me that there seems to be a lot of dissension in the ranks of patriots, the ranks of preppers. And I include preppers among patriots, but not all patriots are preppers. And the thing that I think I need to talk about is the psychology. What is it we're thinking, in other words? How are we being affected by what's going on? When Obama took office, there was a lot of fear and concern and doubt and worry, and rightly so, because of the policies he enacted. I want to talk about those policies real quick. Real quick. One of them was massive government spending. The other one was massive attempts to get our guns. Scared Americans to death. There's a lot of fear around him. Now let's fast forward to Trump. Trump is on the Republican side. And a lot of patriots and a lot of preppers have really invested a lot of hope in Donald J. Trump. Now, where I want to draw the line in the thinking is, let's have hope that Trump does good things. But let's honestly evaluate what's going on, and let's honestly prepare ourselves for disappointment. Okay? That is where the fear is out there right now. The fear is attacking people in their hearts and in their heads, because they had all of this hope for Trump. And so they let the fear go, and they believed. And I want to believe, I want to believe something good is going to happen. But it's dishonest and disingenuous to totally discount everything and say, it's all going to be fine now. And I think that's the trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap, and everyone has stepped in it. Me to varying degrees as well. I am not immune to this. But I sit back and I do talk with an awful lot of very, very intelligent people who want to examine this, and they get sucked in as well. Everyone gets sucked into the hope trap. But when your hopes are not met, when they're not realized, disappointment sets in. Disappointment. And when people are disappointed because what they were hoping for didn't materialize, then blame comes along. Whose fault is this? Who can we blame? Right? So people that hope that Trump succeeds and people that hope that Q is real, they're going to blame somebody else because they don't want to believe. And I don't want to believe either. Nobody does. That they were wrong, and as a result, they're in some kind of peril. Right? We want to believe it's someone else's fault. It's never our own. And we need to accept responsibility for our position as preppers, as patriots, as Americans. Accept responsibility for it, and then think accordingly. One of the things that has come to mind is the blame game. And it's not necessarily whose fault is it, but let's look at it this way. Who do we get mad at? Not necessarily even blame, but who are we going to get mad at? Because this frustration of Trump not doing anything in 2 years. And I know there have been, 20 arrests in the FBI? There's all these indictments, but you know what? I've never seen the indictments. I just hear about them, and the number always grows. It always grows. There's even more indictments, 60-something thousand of them now. But I'm not seeing 60,000 arrests. I'm not seeing 60,000 trials. I'm not seeing 60,000 convictions. So I have disappointment. I have fear that this is all smoke, mirrors, and bullshit. And so this thing called displacement occurs. And it is where you take your, or I'm going to make myself the character. I take my fears, my resentment of what's going on, my disappointment in what's going on, and I project it on others. Because I have expectations which have not been met. I have anger and fear and frustration and paranoia. And I want to blame someone else. So I go to kill the messenger. Right? If I watch a website and the guy is saying something I don't like, I get mad at them. I'm like, shut up, dude. You fucking suck. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an asshole. I don't like this message. I don't like this message. This message isn't in line with my hope, is what's really being said upstairs. And so I know that that happens on this channel as well. I say things that people don't agree with. I say things that people don't want to hear. I talk about topics that people don't necessarily care about because I want to talk about everything. But primarily, it's talking about the way things are. And there's been trouble with this for a while. Trump is telling the world that we have the greatest economy ever, the lowest unemployment ever. And people want to believe that because they hope for the best. Me too, I hope for the best. And then you have other reports that come out and say, no, unemployment is not that low. This economy is not that great. And by the way, it's coming down hard. And by the way, interest rates have barely gone up, but inflation has gone way, way up. And so I say things that people don't like, and they get mad, and they're blaming me. They're displacing the anger from where it needs to be, which is with ourselves. And it's out there. Believe me, the root of the problem is government. The root of the problem is evil people in government. But we need to blame ourselves for not seeing that and then taking our frustrations and angers out on those around us. There's fear, there's disappointment, there's paranoia, right? There's resentment for what's going on. Now we've got a Democrat House of Representatives coming. And that is causing even more paranoia. Because we don't know what they're going to do. We know they're going to try and impeach Trump, but we don't know what else is coming. Government shutdown? Oh, we laugh about it and say it's good and this and that. And Trump's going to get him. And he has been masterful in dealing with these people. But he hasn't been Messiah-like. It would be Messiah-like for Nancy Pelosi to open her mouth and then Trump have her arrested the next day, expose all her crimes, and have America cheer for Trump's victory. That would be Messiah-like. But it's not. Instead, he's like a magician and he's got great tricks. But he can't make Diamond Head in Hawaii disappear. Not for real. Right? The problems, in other words, are so big and so monumental, so fixed in time and space that they are real monuments. And they cannot be moved. Certainly not that easy. So with the socialists, the Democrats, the communists coming into power at a time when we know the economy really is slowing, as much as we want to believe everything is good, it's creating a lot of resentment, a lot of confusion, a lot of anger, a lot of fear. Now imagine, folks, if you weren't preppers and you didn't have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, self-defense, a plan. Imagine if you did not have those things. Imagine how much more scared you would feel. Imagine how much more paranoid you would feel, wondering what everyone is doing and what's going on. Imagine all the resentment you would have for those who were in charge, who blew it, and anger, and a desire for vengeance and justice. And you're not going to get it. It's just going to be day after day of cold, miserable, hunger, thirst, and no answers. and suffering and trauma. That's what's going to happen when you wake up one day, and I wake up one day, and they say the stock market shut down, the government's shut down, don't go to work, the power's going to go out. Whatever the problem is, whatever the shit it's the fan event that manifests itself, imagine all of those bad things if you weren't a prepper. The reason I bring this up is prepping is what gives us our basic needs. Prepping is what gives us our foundation, because we are prepared psychologically, or we should be. We are prepared with items, material goods. We are prepared with a plan. We are prepared with a basic understanding of why the world is falling apart, what has fallen apart, and what are the consequences of all of that falling apart. That is the essence of being a prepper, and we should be very grateful, eternally vigilant, intelligently prepared. That is what being a prepper is. Being a patriot, we can be patriots all day long too. But to be a blind patriot and not look at the reality of the situation or the situations, to put false hope where it doesn't belong, and then get mad when someone points out it's just not happening that way. It's ridiculous. We need to always, if I can, insist upon this, keeping an open mind. Right? I keep an open mind. I look at everything. Even stuff that I've discounted and poo-pooed and said, no way, I'll look at it again. And then I'll take it out of the box later and look at it again and test it again and again to see if I'm right. Right? But I'm not going to fall for parlor tricks. I'm not going to let myself get sucked into a psychological operation. There is a chance that Trump is a deep stater, that the entire thing is a giant drama-filled television reality show. Or, as I've said in the past, why go through the exercise? Why have Trump get into these massive fights? These arguments, this bantering, this bickering, this back and forth bullshit, when the deep state, the dark state, the powers that be, the evil bastards, if they wanted to control us and dominate us and destroy the economy and have martial law and shit hitting the fan, why not just do it in one fell swoop? Well, they need someone, they need scapegoats, they need the people distracted, they need the people to believe in something. They need the people to have somebody to blame other than them. And so they put out Trump to fight with the Democrats, and they put out Trump to fight with the central banking system. They put out Trump to fight with other nations. And so we've gotten a marvelous reality show, the biggest reality show ever. And for the conspiracy-minded, they've created possibly the QAnon phenomena. And they put it out there. And they call themselves patriots. But they're computer people who like to play games, who like puzzles and solving puzzles. And so for the conspiracy-minded, they put out this game to give them hope and to give them belief in something that may not be real. Again, if Q is real, fuck, it's an amazing, 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 amazing trick that is very angering because of all the lying and deception and bullshit and false hope it's given, because it shattered what little hope I had for it to work. But it could be yet one more layer of misdirection and control. And so to put my hope in that, no way. And to have total hope and faith in Trump, no way. I cannot do it. I can look forward to it. I can hope for it. I can root for it. I can laugh about it. I can cheer him on. I can take pleasure in the suffering of idiotic Democrats, socialists, communists. But in the end, I have to look at this honestly. I have to look at what is going on with clear eyes and clear mind, and not fall for the game that we're being played. right? The reason we're here on the Prepared Mind is for prepping and for getting a mental understanding. You guys, you can't hang out with me. You can't go shooting with me. You can't work on kitchen techniques and fire techniques. You can't work on everything with me, but we can do the mental stuff here, which is why I've tried focusing on it the most, the mental preparation. And even as mentally prepared as I believe myself to be, there is a lot of disappointment in Q, in Trump, in our government, in the people around me. I used to believe people were better. The more I get into this, the more I realize people are not that good. People are not that smart. People are not that aware. They're not that capable. They're not that competent. It's very disappointing. And it makes and increases and adds to paranoia. The propensity for people to do things wrong intentionally, which we like to call evil, is incredible. It's frightening. It scares the shit out of me. You know. You know, let's go back 2 years. Back to even before the election. James Comey came out and he appeared to have hanged Hillary Clinton. In all truth, I credit James Comey for having Hillary Clinton not win the election. On the other hand, I can say if he hadn't done that, if he hadn't come out and basically thrown Hillary under the bus to save his own skin, maybe some worse things would have happened. So maybe what he did was actually save himself and save Hillary and save the Democrats by allowing or causing Hillary to lose the election. Because maybe something else would have happened. We can't know because we're not on the inside. But James Comey still isn't arrested. Hillary, who James Comey said committed felonies, felony crimes, crimes bordering on treason, crimes that I consider to be treasonous, and she hasn't been arrested. She's not being prosecuted. So you can see how far with the current situation my disappointment goes back. Now I will say this, I do believe, and I have said for years and years and years, way before Q, way before the use of the term deep state, way before fake news, years, I have said there are good people. There are good guys at the top, above the levels that we can see and understand. Just as there are evil powers that be, there are good powers that be. And if they weren't powerful, if they weren't effective, we would have been in a totalitarian 1984 Orwellian nightmare decades ago. But there is resistance to the bad guys. And I don't want to hear the Constitution has been what has stopped them, because as we've noticed in our lifetimes, anytime the government wants to do away with a constitutional provision or protection, clause or concept, they have a Supreme Court case, and the world bows down to the Supreme Court. Oh, they're so brilliant. They figured this out. Now we understand we don't need the Constitution. We just need a Supreme Court to tell us what is okay, what is acceptable, and what is not. So there's more than just the Constitution stopping the bad guys from taking over. Because if they wanted to take over, right, they would just do it the same way they would just do it with Trump or before Trump or with the Constitution. So there are good forces at work out there. I just don't believe it's a bunch of computer guys working with a secret insider who have all the power and all the information and all the knowledge and all the goodness, who after 2 years of Trump's administration have done nothing. And I do accept and understand that it takes time to build a case. But as I've stated, give me the FBI files on Hillary, and give me a month, and I'll put together a bona fide, solid case against her that has her locked up with no bail and no hope for ever breathing a breath of fresh air again. A month, you say? I'll do it in a week. I'll do it in a day. I could do it in an hour, because I guarantee There is a manila file folder, 10 inches thick, with everything she has ever done wrong in it. Hand it to me, and it's over. I would march right over to the fucking district attorney, the attorney general's office, and say, here it is. Go get her. And I would march a bunch of U.S. Marshals to wherever the hell she is and lock her ass up. It's that simple, folks. It's justice is that simple because it hasn't happened. My faith, my belief in the justice system, in the government, in Q, in Trump is not there. It can't be there. And one little event, one prediction going right is not enough for me to believe in Trump all of a sudden. Now, I can't tell you the number of cartwheels and handstands and gleeful cheering and laughing and probably shedding tears of joy I would have if Hillary was arrested. But Hillary being arrested does not make the world fixed. It does not cure all the ills, but it certainly removes a major tumor, right, a major parasite, a major cancer out of the system. I would not believe in Q anymore if Hillary was arrested, because I know if Hillary was arrested, that everyone would want to take credit for it. Q especially. Oh, back then he said this, and back then he said that. Right? Q has been inconsistent and said, well, we needed to deceive. So what are we to believe is truth, and what are we to believe is a lie? And can a lie from last week become this week's truth because they say so? Yes. That's how they're playing that game. It's a game they're playing. And I believe it's a psychological operation. Q is. It's a psychological operation to keep people busy, to give them false hope. But what it's creating is fear and resentment and disappointment. So I don't want anybody to take it out on anybody else, or take it out on me and say, John, I'm tired of hearing about this shit. This shit that I'm discussing, this shit I've been going over is fundamental. It's fundamentally critical to understanding where we're at in the cycle, in the going down the road to shit hitting the fan. It is not going to become less difficult to deal with and to fathom and to understand. It's going to make it more difficult, more painful, more irritating. It's going to give us more pause, more fear, more anger, more paranoia as we get closer and closer to the event, whatever it is. It is going to build to a crescendo that is going to actually break everybody who is not prepared to deal with what's coming. So I want people to get used to the idea that we're going to fail. That Trump is going to have some successes, but ultimately the system has to come down. Even people that tout Trump's greatness are saying, yeah, the system's going to come down, right? He's going to bring the system down his way. It has to come down. It has to end. It has to stop because it cannot be fixed. It can't be fixed. Don't just look at the national debt. Look at all the other things that the government guarantees. Real estate loans, student loans. They're supposed to insure all of the bank accounts through FDIC, which they can't and they aren't. And they won't be able to even if they wanted. The trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. All of the pensions that are unfunded, that's debt that's owed. It's going to have to be wiped away. Right? It's going to have to be forgotten. People are not going to get their pensions, ultimately. They're not going to go and live and pop the golden parachute and just cruise for 30 or 40 years of the end of their life. It's not going to happen. Not the way they wanted it. And it's through no fault of their own. And it's through no fault of mine. It's through no fault of anybody's except the people in charge. And those people lie, cheat, and steal for a living. They deceive for a living. That is, they use deception. And they do so willingly, and it's a part of their fundamental makeup and behavior. And we need to accept that. That is why we prepare. That is why we have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and means of self-defense. We try and cover everything it takes to protect ourselves and our families and our communities and our prepper groups and whatever and everyone you want to try and help. We take that onto ourselves as preppers, so we don't have to rely on others. So when preppers start relying on others for good feelings and emotional satisfaction, right, coming from either Trump or Q or any group out there, you cannot do that. At some point, you're not going to be able to listen to me or anyone else, because they will kill the internet, either through the power outage or through a terror attack on the net grid, whatever that is. Eventually, they're going to take this communication source away from us so that they can control us all the more. They'll take our phones out. There's kill switches in our phones. There's kill switches in our computers. There's kill switches electronically everywhere. And they will use that to maintain control and continuity of government to every human being's despair. We're going to, what I'm saying is, at some point, whether the lights are on or off, we're going to be on our own mentally. And you're only going to have the news sources that they want us to have. And it's going to be a scary world when we're cut off. You think you get pissed off now when your favorite internet news guy, alt news, real news guy doesn't come on? He takes the day off, he's sick, he's on vacation, and you're like, damn it, I want more of that, I want that, and I'm not getting it. Imagine when everything is off, when it's silent, when your ears hear a white drone of static, and you've got no information, you don't know what's going on, you stick your head out the door, and you can't understand or see what's coming. You want to talk about fear and paranoia and disappointment and terror. That is what Shit It's the Fan is going to be about, and we need to be ready for it. We need to not place hope in unfounded places, unreliable places, mystery places. I would believe something, a group like Q, if they hadn't disappointed so much, if we knew who they were and what the plan actually is, instead of pointing to a nebulous concept and saying the plan is what you believe it to be, because you have no other information on which to base the characterization of the actions that are going to come, other than what we hope for. That is what the plan is. I want everyone to think about it. The plan is presented by Q is for you to have hopes and dreams and think that the plan incorporates them as the fundamental and paramount reason for its existence, when in fact we don't know what the plan is, and someone's telling us to trust them. And then whatever comes through the concocted analysis from the QAnon people, we're supposed to attribute to Q, and then believe that that is going to make the plan come true, and that what we believe individually as human beings and our wants and desires are going to be fulfilled. It is very much a Santa Claus-like syndrome, and it's dishonest of them, and it's dishonest for us to do it to ourselves. So whether it's, and same with Trump, having a belief, right, that Trump is going to stop the Fed and kill the Fed. You know, I can't believe that that's going to happen. I can't put and invest all of my eggs, all of my emotional investments in there. I think I was the first one to do a video on the Andrew Jackson painting in the Oval Office and pointing out that Andrew Jackson destroyed the bank. I'm pretty damn sure I was the first guy on YouTube to point that out in a video. And if someone beat me by a day, I didn't hear about it or know about it, because I've understood and watched how the banking system and the history of it goes. And I knew all about Andrew Jackson long before Trump came along. But that doesn't mean, just because that picture's there, that that is what is really going to happen. It can be a trick. Maybe it's what Trump wants, but is he going to be able to pull it off? I can't put all of my, not only my hope into that basket, I can't allow it to affect me and my decisions and go, well, now that that picture is on the wall, I'm going to stop prepping because I have faith in that picture and that the president has the power, authority, will, good sense, right, and belief that that is the way to go. Right? Trump was talking about a big fat bubble before the election. After the election, we have the greatest economy ever. He was talking about all kinds of national debt, and then he's increased debt to even greater heights than what Obama did. We're in big trouble, folks. Get prepared. Put your faith where it belongs, in your Creator and in yourself, because it is only through those two sources that salvation is going to be had, protection is going to be had, and the life-giving and life-sustaining psychology and faith that you need are in the things that are going to be in your own hands when shit hits the fan. Always faithful. Semper Fi. Godspeed and God bless.